Whose house? Rams house. It's the Rams Squad. Sponsored by Gametime. Everything Los Angeles Rams every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the City of Angels. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Here comes the Rampede. The Rams Squad Show starts now.
Yes, it does. What's going on, everybody? And welcome to the second edition of the Rams Squad Show right here on the Locked On Rams YouTube channel and wherever you get the Locked On Rams audio podcast feed. This is the place to be, not only directly after every single Rams game, but also one more time during the week, just like we're doing today. Of course, we've got the Dream Team, the crew here. You know him. He was in the broadcast booth. He's also a Rams legend. One of the best D linemen in the history of the franchise, and also just, I'm getting to know him every single day a little bit better. Just a cool guy. Big Mike Brocker is back in the house. How you doing today, bro?
Doing good. How are you guys?
Good, man. Good. I'm sure you're a little less calm today. You're not, running aroround SoFi Stadium like you were on Saturday.
Trying to find space. Trying to find space to do the interview now, for sure.
Yeah, you were tucked in a little. It looked like you were in a closet or something, just trying to get it in.
Closet somewhere.
I love it. And then, of course, you know him from The Daily Show. You know him on Twitter with all those followers. One of the voices of LA sports media. I'm going to gas you up. Don't shake your head. I'm going to gas you up.
Hey, my hype man, bro. I like it.
Absolutely. Doug is in the building. How you doing today?
Legend on a Rams show, but I appreciate that. You did me well. I appreciate you, my man, Gavin.
Yes, sir. How you doing? Middle of the week. Obviously, I'm sure you're a little bummed. I'm not going to brag too much about what the Angels have been doing the Dodgers. I know we'll leave that for maybe after the show, but good week so far for you, sir.
It's been a great week. Honestly, reading the comments after our first show, they said we had good chemistry. I mean, that's just what the streets are saying about us three. So I just throwing it out there. I had a lot of fun. Rams fans had a lot of fun. It's just a whole different vibe with this whole squad show. I like, too, that intro. I didn't see the intro until our first show. It just had me laughing. Like, get ready for the Rampede.
Yeah, for
people
sure.
are liking the intro, too. So it's great times, fellas.
Yeah, no, I got that little West Coast bop going. That you can't see me, but I'm in there dancing before it goes live. So I love it. But a lot to talk about today. I mean, obviously we did the live show after that 31-21 preseason opening win against the Cowboys. A lot of great talking points. It's hard not to be excited after a game like that, knowing everything we got coming ahead. But middle of the week, some good, some bad. We've got some kind of underrated players going viral in the middle of the week. We'll get to that. Some funny stories from training camp and just from practices and everything. And yes, of course, we'll talk about Matthew Stafford because yesterday or on the show on Saturday, I was acting like we had nothing to worry about, and things have taken maybe a turn for the worse throughout this week so far. But again, just quickly a reminder, shout out to everybody here. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button, liking, commenting, all that good stuff. It sounded like the reviews in the comment section were good so far. That's what we love to hear. But we're going to start off with something fun. I know we were watching some stuff on social media. You tell me, Doug, you were talking about the receivers, some of the veterans kind of not hazing, but messing around with some of the rookies. We always want to start with something light before we jump into the nitty gritty. So what you got for me today?
Yeah, it was the first thing that popped in my mind is we got to hit Brock with this early on because on Devontae Adams' IG story, he posted this story where he says, "Welcome to the league, my boys." And Puka and the gang, they brought the rookies out. And the bill was $15K after taxes, like $13K. They had 2 bottles of BTL, Chateau Mouton, Rothschild, Bordeaux, $3,000, 13 shots of Don Julio, 1942. The boys were getting lit. And I'm just curious, Brock, any of these stories come to mind? It's early in camp. You're bringing the rookies out and you're just trying to have some fun with it.
For sure. Me being a first round pick, I knew a lot of that bill was going to be on me. So definitely, I was dreading the whole rookie dinner because they were hyping it up the whole time. Like, hey, man, I can't wait to rookie dinner. Then, for me, I kind of like to talk shit, I like to talk my mess when I'm with the guys. So they were eager to go to D-line dinner. They were like, oh, yeah, I'm going to D-line dinner. I'm bringing my wife. I'm getting bottles for my wife and all kinds of stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, I should have just shut up and just been a humble rookie and just, showed up and grinded and just left them alone. But no, me, I want to be Mr. Loudmouth and, give everybody some mess here and there around in the locker room. And yeah, they let me have it, rookie dinner for sure.
Yeah, because that era wasn't the F them picks era. It's no, we're going to take Michael Brockers with I think it was a 14th overall pick, I believe, in that draft. So yeah, I didn't even think about that. They're like, okay, great, he's got the bag. I mean, what's it going to be? Do you remember kind of anything about kind of where you're at, like the guys you were around at the time on that specific team?
For sure. I had great bets. And, we got a Rams legend himself is Chris Long. He played a long tenure, for the Rams. So I had Chris Long, Robert Quinn. What's crazy is I had a lot of guys, before me that were first round picks. So for me, I'm like, hey, you know how this thing goes. And they knew how it went. They were like, no, we know your signing bonus everything is public. We know how much you make, so we're going to tax you a little bit, my guy. So, yeah, man, I had some great bets. I think the biggest thing for me was, how do you split that? You got a first-round pick, and then you have a fourth-round pick, and then you have a seventh-round pick. How do we split that to where it makes sense, And the guys were like, man, you got to take most of it. The seventh-round pick, you got to pay us like, $1,000, $1,500. But for the most part, Brock's got it,
I'd be doing that Kevin Hart bit. I got to move something from my checkings to my savings to my, moving some things around because that'd be kind of tough. I don't know about you, Gavin, but that'd be kind of like alligator arms. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's why I'm laughing. It's like, the poor NFL players debating how they're going to split a $15K bill. I go out to dinner with three friends and the bill's $80 and we're looking like, yo, who's putting the credit card down? Like, I don't know if I got this. So, I mean, it's definitely
request.
Yeah, exactly. And then you never know. There's always that one friend who you have to remind like every 3 days to actually send the Venmo. So I can imagine if it's, $1,000 and not $10, it must be a little awkward, especially when someone's on the verge of getting cut or something. But
no, I don't like the friend that's like, instead of giving you his half, he's just, no, I'll get the next one. Yeah. Right? He's like, no, you get this one, get the next one, but that next one never comes, right?
Yeah.
Right. He's making excuses. So it's always like, no, I need my money before like you get in that Uber, bro. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. Yeah. I'm drinking water the whole night. I'm like, I'm watching everybody eat stuff and order stuff. I'm like, yeah, you don't really need that. I'm drinking water. You can be drinking water too. No, they're ordering bottles and shots. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I can imagine. Hey, but it's a good way to build chemistry, right? Because one way or another, there's going to be some tough conversations if someone slips up. And I guess that's kind of how it is being a football player and a teammate on any team, right? It's like accountability and, calling someone out if they're slipping up. So I guess it's a different way of doing it. But obviously, we talked about the receivers, the young guys, a lot of, young names trying to make a name for themselves and everything. Kind of want to jump into talking about a different undrafted, guy who's trying to make a name for himself. And that's Willie Lampkin. Like I said, we're going to get to the big stories with Matthew Stafford and everything, but we want to talk about Willie Lampkin because this guy was going viral. He was on the NFL Instagram page with four pancake blocks in that preseason opener against the Cowboys. And we were laughing with Brock before we went live here. The guy's only 5'11". I say only despite being 5'4" myself. So I'll shut the heck up. But, for an interior lineman, that's obviously a big deal. You're obviously taller than him. You're kind of talking about both the advantage that being 5'11" has and the disadvantage that it has. But talk to me a little bit more about what we've seen from Willie Lampkin after that first preseason game.
Man, after the viral clips, you kind of have to take a step back and like, dang, this dude is only 5'11". The way he was moving people out there, I was like, oh my gosh. And the first thought about, for me is like, I would hate to play him and try to like strike him in a run game because I know like I would be so high. My coach would be all on me like, oh, you're too high. And I'm like, Coach, he's 5'11". Like, how low do you expect me to get? Being 6'5", 6'6", trying to get under a guy that's 5'11's pad? Like, no way. But, for me, I love seeing that because it focuses on the trenches. It focuses on a lot of the things the big boys don't get no shine, especially offensive linemen. They get no love at all, So for him to be, the spotlight was on him and he made some very good blocks throughout that game that sprung some big runs in that game. So seeing him and knowing that the Rams will always has a gym draft pick in their back pocket. I think that's every year since the Sean McVay and Les Snead era. They always draft well. You think about Cooper Kupp, you think about Puka Nacua, like really think about those guys before did anybody know those guys before they got to the Rams, and then they got to the Rams and they exploded. So for me, it's like, I love the Rams. They always have a gem in their back pockets every draft. So seeing him make some plays, knowing he was an undrafted guy, it showed, how well, the Rams draft, every year.
Yeah, and Brock, I mean, to your point, just watching him on film after the plays that he made, he allowed 0 pressures on 9 pass blocking attempts. He was clearing those lanes for the RBs. But as you point out, this is a Rams team that has the ability to find those gems, to find those steals. And if he went out there and just played like he did, and he was 6'3", it would already be a story because he was a UDFA. But the fact that my man is 5'10" and 3/8, he would be the shortest guy at his position in the league, and he's performing at that level. I think it's just a great story on top of everything else. I mean, you look at this. He was not invited to the NFL Combine, right? He would have been the shortest lineman, though, by 5 inches if he was. I mean, there was no lineman at the Senior Bowl that was shorter than 6'3". But I'm very curious. I mean, I think that's pretty interesting how you can take what a lot of GMs and scouts would look as a disadvantage, and it could be an advantage for him. I think that's what makes him really interesting. And it does feel like, hey, just one game, but he was so good. It's like that was such a pop and a wow game that he's going to be on this 53-man roster. It just feels like that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny because we talked about other battles, like Brock saying, the O-line, they don't get any shine. Even when we're talking about the offseason, training camp, and all the different position battles, people seem to forget about how important those position battles are on the offensive line, right? We already talked about the running backs and the wide receivers, maybe even talking about the depth on the D-line, and obviously maybe the secondary being the weakness, but obviously kind of the Achilles heel for this Rams team last year was that offensive line. Of course, all the injuries. We know what we're facing again this year, but last year was Bo Limmer, right? And for now, him to insert himself into this, position battle as interior line depth. I mean, you tell me, Doug, who's he battling with to potentially steal a roster spot from on that interior offensive line?
Yeah, we're talking about it, and Limmer's a guy that he was the story last year as far as a guy that was down there that they basically moved off of Jonah Jackson, and he comes and takes over that spot for most of the year. I think David Questenberry really is the guy who's going to be battling with someone who's more of a proven veteran, but I think they like the upside of Willie Lampkin and what he brings, and it's just a great story. And Brock, I'm curious. So you're going out on the field in this game, and you see Willie Lampkin. Do you process his size? Like, wait a minute. Like, this guy's a lot shorter than guys typically are at that position. And B, does that kind of change your attack plan against him?
First of all, you seeing a guy that short, on the offensive line, I know it's crazy to see because he's surrounded by guys who are 6'3". I think Big Rob is 6'9" or something like that. So to see him break the huddle, turn around, and he lines up on the ball, you're like, what is this little kid doing?
Yeah,
but for me, it's like, oh yeah. I mean, you think like, oh man, this he's small, but then, he goes out there, he's always under your pads. He's always harassing you throughout the game. You're like, dog, he's really after. He's like a little pit bull, man. He just won't, he won't stop. He won't leave me alone. So for me, and as I was saying before the show, I would have to attack him with a lot of length. Use my arms, get that separation away from him to get him off of me because he, for a guy that short, he wants to be all in your grill, he wants to be, he wants to be able to attack you and be on you. So for me, it's like, yeah, I would have to use a little separation to get a guy like that off me.
Yeah. And kind of what's that competition like? Because someone like yourself, you come in as a first round pick, that you're cemented on that roster. You kind of feel that energy early on in camps where there are those guys who are just fighting to make the roster, fighting to be a part of that practice squad. And what does that do for the guys that are established? Does that kind of push them a little bit, knowing that those guys, they're just trying to make the league any way they can?
Mm-hmm. Hey, you know what? I found myself to always be around those guys. I found myself always to be around the undrafted guys, to be around the late round guys, because the fire that's in them to make the team, the fire that's in them to just be a part of this organization, it kind of set a fire in me. It's like, man, this guy's working his butt off. Like, I don't want him to think like he's going to take my job, Right. So I always found myself to be around the late round picks, the undrafted guys, because they would be the ones doing extra work, after practice, getting extra, bag work and things like that. So I wanted to show them like, nah, I'm getting that same work you getting, my guy. So there'll be no shot at you taking my position, but that fire that's always driving them, I always like to surround myself with that because it set a little fire in me as well.
Right. Yeah. And I'm curious, what do you think in terms of, I feel like with an offensive lineman, the goal when you go out there, certainly as an undrafted guy that's trying to earn a roster spot. They always say with offensive linemen, it's kind of like, being a kicker or being like a relief pitcher in baseball. It's like the goal is to not be talked about, right? Like if you're talked about, it probably means you got beat for a sack or maybe you blew an assignment in the run game. For him to completely flip that and not only not be talked about in terms of making any mistakes, but no, this guy is making the NFL.com and the NFL Instagram and stuff. What does that do? I mean, you being a defensive lineman, of course, but just knowing what it's like as an offensive lineman and sort of the pressure, the expectations, what is the position group probably like after a game like that, knowing, no, he made, some plays on tape that are going to be talked about by a Sean McVay and by everybody at that next practice?
It definitely raises the level of play for everybody else. When you got an undrafted guy going out there, getting shine, making plays like that, and everybody else, other guys behind him may have had some mistakes or whatever, it definitely raises everybody's level of play because now this guy is really in there to fight for a position. So now, everybody in that room is like, hey, I got to be on my P's and Q's because we got an undrafted guy who's out here shining. And I was drafted or whatever, I was first round pick, whatever, I need to be making some plays as well. So, I need my name called and I need some highlights on me as well this next game. So if I don't, it's going to be a problem. This guy's coming right behind me, trying to take my position. So, having a guy like that, it definitely raises the level of play in the whole room.
Yeah. Hey, well, it's good that the Rams are in the news a little bit because of some fun stuff with our receivers and because of an undrafted interior lineman making some plays, but also, of course, in the news because of Matthew Stafford. So after our break here on the Squad Show, we'll talk about Matthew Stafford. And Doug posed an interesting question for me. What would this team look like with Jimmy Garoppolo leading things? We'll talk about that after our first break on the second ever edition of the Rams Squad Show. We'll be right back. Now, today's show is brought to you by Yahoo Fantasy. Now, it's the best time of the year, without a doubt. NFL kickoff, it's almost here. We're already talking preseason, and that means fantasy football season is back in full swing. And this year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before. Whether it's myself, Brock, or Doug, we're all playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. I've used it for years. I know I'm only 23. You're going to call me young, but I've been playing since I was before, high school, when I was 12, 13, 14. And ever since then, I've always been on Yahoo Fantasy. And I know a lot of you have been as well. To celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. To kick it off, they just dropped Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a killer new way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's one team left standing. With the season around the corner, now's the time to get your league together and give this new mode a try. So if you're more into the classics, you can still play in the head-to-head private leagues or join a public league, but I really do recommend this. So stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. Back here live on the Locked On Rams Squad Show. We already talked about the Rams handling business on Saturday against the Cowboys. We will certainly talk about this upcoming Saturday against that other team in Los Angeles, the Chargers. Some good headlines, but we have to talk about, unfortunately, the developments that have gone on this week regarding Matthew Stafford. Of course, it's funny. On Saturday's show, I was bragging about how the Rams were feeling pretty good, about Matthew Stafford coming into that day with him having the morning workout, everything going well there, and there really being no other huge question marks with this roster. But, we're in the middle of the week, and Matthew Stafford still isn't practicing like we were hoping to see. And now the question becomes, is he going to be ready, or do we need to prepare for Jimmy G potentially leading this team at some point? So like I hinted at, Doug was bringing it up. What would this team look like with Jimmy G leading it? Obviously, he's a veteran. He's had his doubters when he was on that other team in the NFC West. But we'll start with you, Doug. Talk to me about Jimmy G. How would you feel with him leading things?
Jimmy's certainly a cable backup, but the truth of the matter is that this team's success or failure, whether they're not going to hoist that Lombardi trophy, I think is largely hinging on Matthew Stafford being under center. And I think Jimmy is a guy that if you need him to start the season early, can he keep this offense in it because of the weapons he has with Davante and Puka and Kyron's, a lot of weapons in a Sean McVay-led offense? I think they can score enough points to at least keep the seat warm while Matthew Stafford comes back. But let's be honest, if there is any type of doomsday scenario where this team doesn't have Matthew Stafford, I don't like this team's chances. I don't think it's going to be a Kurt Warner situation, right, with Jimmy Garoppolo leading this team to a Super Bowl. I think the positive, though, is, look, I mean, multiple NFL insiders at the top, Schefter and Schrager, they have said both that if it were up to Matthew Stafford, he'd be playing. He'd be practicing. And Sean McVay said if there was a game, he'd be playing in it. So what this sounds like to me is an organization that's just extra cautious. It's like when that car check engine light goes on, you know, like some people drive around with it. I mean, I do for a little while. For them, it's like it flashed and they went right to the dealership, right? And I think that's what it is for Stafford. They wanted to be 100% fully ready to go because at this point, they know he's the most important player on this organization, and he is their path to a Super Bowl. So I think they're just being very cautious. He's been feeling some pain, and I'm starting to become less concerned because I do think that he'd be playing if it were up to him.
What about you, Brock? What do you think? I mean, as someone who's been in the trenches, you know, I know someone who's probably very familiar with Jimmy G in terms of maybe what people inside an NFL locker room would say about him, you know, being mid, as I would like to say, or my generation would like to say. I mean, how would you feel about him leading the team if it's a couple weeks for the entire season? And again, like Doug said, we're assuming and hoping that's not the case. But if it is, what would you think about it?
I mean, you know, I have a little bit of a different perspective because, you know, Jimmy G, he's a Super Bowl quarterback. Let's not forget that he took the 49ers to the Super Bowl. So he has tons of experience. If he had to get, you know, held to range, you know, for a little bit, I think this team would be mighty successful. You know, having, you know, the Sean McVay, the whole coaching staff, they are going to set their team up for success. So if it's, you know, leaning on the running game, if it's leaning on the running game and defense, they're going to find a way to win games. And are we really expecting our star Super Bowl 17-year quarterback to play and practice every practice? Like, that is crazy to me that people are like, Chicken Little right now, the sky is falling because our 17-year quarterback is not practicing. Right. I don't care. He doesn't have to practice all training camp. Right. As long as he shows up week one and he's there throughout the season, that's all I care about. I'm not really worried because, you know, this team and this staff has shown they don't like to play their veterans early. It's a risk of injury, and they don't want to take that risk. So, and if he's already having a back issue, why push him? Let's not push him. Let's wait till the games that really count, that really matter, to get him out there. And we all know Stafford is a tough SOB. You know, he's played hurt before. He's played with a broken arm. Like, right. I'm not worried at all about the team and their moves with Stafford. That, like you said, Doug, that check engine light on, they took you straight to the dealership because you know why? They still have warranty, so they don't have to worry about paying, you know? So for me, I'm not worried about the staff and or the coaching staff and Stafford's, you know, ability to practice because what is he missing? He has it all up here. It's all up here. He doesn't need to go through the reps physically. He's been through them 17 years of reps. So for me, I'm not worried at all. I love Jimmy G being a backup because he has experience. He understands. I mean, we talked about it. You know, I think he ripped the Dallas Cowboys up in practice, you know, when they had the joint practice. So I don't think a ball hit the ground, they said. So for me, I'm like, man, what a world to be in as a Rams fan where you have a veteran backup quarterback that can take this team, that can take the reins for a little bit if need be, and be successful with this team and also have a star quarterback that's willing to go if it's really time to go. So for me, I'm not worried at all. I think a lot of it is just, you know, to have something to talk about. But, you know, 17 years in the game, Super Bowl champion, I'm not really worried about Stafford right now, man. I know he's gonna be there when it matters most. And I think that's the biggest thing.
As a defender, Brock, are you kind of keeping this in the back of your mind if you're going up against Stafford? Like, hey, we heard all this talk about your bad back. Let's test that back out early in the first quarter of game one. Is that something you kind of think about? And if you're Matthew Stafford, that's kind of what I'm looking at. Is this going to impact his velocity, his throwing? I just don't. He's so good and such a master of his craft that I'm with you. If he's healthy, you got guys if you've worked with and veteran receivers, I expect him to just hit the ground running. But as a defender, how are you viewing that on the other side of the football?
man, if he allows you to hit him, you can hit him. But do I think he's going to allow guys to hit him? No, not at all. I think the ball's going to be out fast. You know, you don't really expect that. I remember playing Tom Brady and was like, this guy's 40 years old. If you hit him one time, he's going to crumble. And I leaned into him one time after he threw the pass, and I just tried to hit him as hard as I could. I didn't really care about the penalty. You get to hit the goat, you get to hit the goat, right? So he completed the pass, and they moved down. It was a first down. They moved the chain. So that's one thing I'm not worried about is guys who really love this game and play this game for the love of the game of football, like Matthew Stafford has for so many years. It doesn't matter. He knows he's going to get hit anyway. So his mind's already prepared to take a hit. He's trying to really win the game. So I try not to think about those things, but definitely, you know, when a guy has an injury, you know that he has an injury, but you don't think that he's going to go out there and let that affect him, you know?
Yeah, and Gavin, I mean, to answer your question about Jimmy Garoppolo, I agree with you, Brock. I mean, it is a luxury. Like, there's no doubt about it. This is a team that a couple years ago, you had Brett Rippon in Green Bay, and it just did not go well. And you also had Carson Wentz, and there was a lot of talk, should they bring back Wentz and things like that. And then the topic of conversation this offseason was, do they go Aaron Rodgers route? Do you go other routes to just maybe not bring back Matthew Stafford? But with Jimmy Garoppolo, I don't think that I think the floor is really solid, right? I think the floor is like 10, 11 wins, couple playoff wins potentially. It's just, we saw Matthew Stafford take this Rams organization to the promised land, and he did it with his arm. The no-look throws, just executing all the throws. You saw Jimmy Garoppolo miss the throw to Emmanuel Sanders in the Super Bowl. For me, it's just the conversation. Can they win a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo? It's possible, but I really would prefer not to have that conversation and Matthew Stafford get completely healthy. By the way, I want to ask just completely aside here. I was thinking of you, Tom Brady, doing like a jersey swap. Like, were you ever a jersey swap dude? Because like for me, I'd be doing that after like every game just to get like an authentic NFL jersey. And like, does that come out of your paycheck? Like, how does that even work?
I was a jersey swap guys, but only guys that I really rock with, and we were friends or something like that. To go up to the GOAT and ask for his jersey, it would have been because everybody asked for his jersey. Let me be real. When you're a great player, say Devontae Adams, Tom Brady, whatever, Matthew Stafford, they have several guys coming up to him. Hey, can I get that jersey at the game, champ? Can I get that jersey at the game? So for me, I'm like, I'm lower on the totem pole, man. I only want to go to guys that I know that I would, it's an easy swap. I don't have to beg or ask, for you to get a second jersey or anything like that. So I was a jersey swap guy, but only with guys that, I respected. A lot of D-line guys that I respected in the league, I asked for jerseys and things like that. But, it probably comes out to check. I never looked at my, the check to really know how much it was. But, yeah, they definitely took something out to check for that. Nothing is free in the league.
I like it.
What's the best swap you've made? Or has anyone, we'll flip it. I mean, you're underselling yourself a little bit. Has someone ever gone up to you and said, let's swap, or what? Tell me stories there.
Yeah, I've had a couple of guys come up to me, and ask me for jerseys. They respect my game and things like that. My best jersey swap, and I'm holding, is Aaron Donald. I have an Aaron Donald jersey signed.
That's true.
I'm never letting that go. So, a guy that I respected a lot was also Cam Hayward. I asked for his jersey after the game. Just like, man, I love your game. Love the way you played, man. Would you mind if I get the jersey after the game? He's like, oh, yeah, you got it. So, I always tried to look for guys that, I respected their game.
Yeah,
sure.
I love that. It's like it's like you're exchanging each other's like superhero cape or something. You know what I mean? It's good stuff. You can like frame it, put it in the man cave, and like buy your office. It's perfect stuff. I always want to go up to like another media member I respect and see if we like exchange quarter zips. You know what I mean? It's not the same because you don't want to see those dudes with their shirts off. It ain't a good sight. You know what I mean? So it's not happening. You know what I mean? But who knows? Maybe someday that could be a tradition.
Like a credential swap, you got your lanyard on your chest and you swap it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. That's hilarious. I mean, real quick, just to finish up the conversation there, in terms of, like you were saying, the Jimmy Garoppolo situation, it certainly is a luxury. It's kind of ironic, as much as at least I personally, and I imagine you both, hate the Niners, like we kind of joked about on the last squad show. It is a pretty similar situation to when he was there, in terms of this is a franchise that whether we want to or not. I mean, I personally enjoy it. You're kind of transitioning into being maybe a defensive first team. I mean, let's not forget, even with Stafford, there was a stretch at the end of last season where there's a lot of single digit games, right? Let's not forget 12-6 over the Niners, up there, 19-9 against the Jets, 13-9 against the Cardinals. There was a stretch there towards the end of the regular season where it's like, yeah, we might be a defensive first team, right? And so you've got the strong defense that's only going to get better because of the youth there. And then you still have amazing weapons, right, on the offense. We know how good Puka is. The fact that Davante Adams probably needs 5 minutes with Matthew Stafford on the field for them to instantly have a connection because they're just both as experienced as it gets. Certainly a luxury, and I'm sure with Jimmy G, he's building that connection with those stars as well. So it's ironic. It kind of feels like that situation. But yes, I agree, Doug. When we get to the big game.
I think Brock, I think Brock brought the best point too. And like the truth is, it's like if this is the regular season, he's going to be playing. So Sean McVay wouldn't be talking too much about it.
Right.
And yes, I'm kind of someone that's more veer on the side of being concerned. And until I see him out there throwing footballs and practicing, I'm not going to feel 100% okay. But it's the off season. It's training camp. Like Drake said, if they don't have a story, they'll make one, right? And I'm not saying that they're making up this story, but I am saying that there's not a lot of other things to really talk about. We're talking about Willie Lampkin. It's superstar quarterback, hasn't played, was in the off-season storylines all season long with the Los Angeles Rams. If there's anything there, they're definitely going to go back to the well a couple of different times. I do think there is something to that. So from a player, you're probably thinking to yourself, like if you're on his team, you're probably thinking, oh, okay, he's fine, right? He told me he's fine. He's fine. You're probably not too worried about it, right? If you're in the trenches in this current locker room.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if he was going through surgery, now they were talking about, oh, he needs back surgery, neck surgery, then I would have been like, oh, we need to be a defensive led team, but we're talking about back soreness, back tight. Like, oh, we just gonna, we're gonna manage him. Like, let him take some time off. He's been playing 17 years in the league. I don't think he needs these training camp practice reps to make himself feel any better. It's all up top. It's all mental. Hey, go out there, go through the reps, maybe go through a walkthrough or anything. He's still walking through with the team. He's throwing passes. So it's like, I see this guy every day. He's as healthy as can be. He's just not practicing. What's the big deal?
Yeah. And I'm curious and I know we're going to wrap a bow on this because like Doug's saying, it's like this is something that the LA sports media world is going to inevitably talk about. And of course, we're going to do the same. But I'm curious. I've heard from non-players on shows that they talk about this backup quarterback kind of theory, and that the first game with a backup quarterback, the team exceeds expectations. Something about, all the rest of the guys trying to up their game to help out the backup QB. But enough of these random talking heads like me doing that. You, Brock, is that a true thing, right, in the locker room when it's a backup QB maybe starting for a game? Do you actually feel any more pressure or any more motivation to play at your best? Have you ever had a situation like that? And if so, do you think it's a true thing?
If I had a unproven quarterback that never, that really hasn't proved itself, I would say that, Josh Dobbs, somebody like that. Not saying he's won games, but I'm talking about a true backup quarterback that hasn't had that experience in the playoffs, has been to a Super Bowl, things like that. I would have some questions on like, okay, yeah, defense, we gotta score some points. We gotta, maybe not allow them to score to really win this game. But when you have a veteran quarterback that has won games in this league, he showed up when the time is needed, for other teams, and now he's on your team and he looks solid, and these are two different coaching staffs. 49ers and the Rams, two different coaching staffs. So for me, I'm like, I think I like his vibe with the team. I think I like his vibe and his continuity with the players around him. I mean, he's surrounded by so many great athletes and so many players. He doesn't have to do everything himself. We're not asking Jimmy G to go out there and win a game. We're saying hand the ball off to Kyron Williams, get it to Davante Adams, get it to Puka, and the staff is going to design plays for you to get the ball out quick. If that's a struggle for you, we'll have screens. We'll have all kind of things to get this ball out quick, so we don't have to worry about that. Just don't lose us the game. I think that's the biggest thing. Don't lose us the game, but don't go out there and try to win it yourself either.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Before we take this break, I mean, we got D-Mac in here bringing up Drake and stuff. Is it Drake or Kendrick? What's going on? Let me hear it.
You know what's funny, man? You know, you can like them both. You know, I'm a LA lifer. I'm a Kendrick. I've been to like 4 Kendrick concerts. Been to like 4 Drake concerts. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Come on now.
You know, I mean, you sound like my friends, bro. You like try to take a side. You know, family matters. Not like, look, man. I think they're really good bars in both. Let's be honest about it.
Right.
I think Kendrick won the battle, though. I mean, I'll definitely say that.
Come on now.
Yeah, I mean, I was in SoFi, and I'll tell you, I've never heard a building so loud in my life. I've been in playoff games for football, for basketball, for baseball. I've never heard a building so loud compared to when Kendrick played both Not Like Us and Euphoria at SoFi a couple months ago. Unbelievable. But I'm with you. I'm okay with both.
Or when SZA brought out Justin Bieber. That's when I thought I was going super loud in that place. He was going nuts in that place, man. It was crazy. But I actually do appreciate it. Brock is definitely kind of like my Rams therapist at this point. Anytime I get worried about Jimmy Garoppolo, I feel better about him now. And as you point out, if he has to be a game manager where they have to find different ways for him to execute the offense based on his skill level and think that tailor it to him, then you're going to be in a better spot. But truth is, it's not they're like, oh, we lost Lamar Jackson. Let's try to find another Lamar Jackson, right? I mean, it's just about giving you quality. And I just think that at the end of the day, we're going to move on from this Matthew Stafford thing, and he's going to come back. Let's not forget, too, Stafford's one of the toughest players in the league. Like, he plays through injuries consistently, and he's done it at a high level. If that has to be the case in this situation, I think he'll do it again. And I think that he realizes, too, he's got a couple more cracks at this Super Bowl, and he wants to lock up that gold jacket. So he's got a lot on the line, too. So, yeah, I just want to see him out there, man. I just like watching him throw the football, like, straight up. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Me too.
I love it. Brock's your therapist. That's what we like to hear. Hey, we're a squad, but we're helping each other out when we're nervous about things. I love it. We're going to take one more break here. When we come back, well, I guess we got 2 more breaks, but when we come back, we'll talk about this upcoming preseason game, opportunities for a couple more guys. Who's going to be the next Lampkin to maybe make a name for themselves? And we're going to talk about some fun training camp stories as well. There's a lot of viral fights going on online and stuff. We'll get to all that after our break here on, again, episode number 2 of the Locked On Rams Squad. We'll be right back. Now, today's show is also brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth. Amen. Whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. But that's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. And boy, as someone who already has to do that during my day-to-day, I don't want to do it anymore when it comes to my finances. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's a 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNFL. Back here live on the Locked On Rams Squad show, right here on the Locked On Rams YouTube channel and wherever you get the Locked On Rams audio podcast feed. I'm trying to think of like some sort of other fun name for this. I get it, we're the Squad show, but like what the 3 of us, we need some sort of like nickname, especially if we're going to have other guests on throughout the season. I don't know. We'll need to think of some, not 3 Musketeers, something corny like that, but we need something for the 3 of us. We'll think of it.
Maybe the Mob Squad, man. That's what it was supposed to be before anything. It was supposed to be the Mob Squad because even the players look this up. A group, when you have a flock of sheep or a flock of rams or whatever, it's called a mob. So we can be the Mob Squad. I don't understand why that didn't catch, but we went with Rams House.
Get the t-shirts made. It's a wrap. I'm trademarking as we speak.
Mob Squad. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, we already talked plenty about, I feel like Matthew Stafford. We've said that name a million times. We talked about all the other stuff. I'm curious. We go into the second preseason game. Felt like preseason game 1 went about as well as you could have imagined in terms of, guys you wanted to see making an impact did so. Blake Corum, obviously we just talked about Lampkin, receivers making an impact as well. Stetson Bennett being the biggest talking point. But Doug, D-Mac, and I'm going to start calling you that now. Everyone needs their nickname here. What are you looking for in preseason game 2 against these Chargers? Is there any other battles that you're looking for or just another, competent performance from the team as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the big takeaways from the first game was they dominated in the trenches on both sides of the football. And can you continue to build on that side of the roster too. And then you look at the defensive side, guys like Chris Paul, and you look at Dolak. I mean, do those guys continue to impress? Because we know with the Rams, it's the deeper you get into preseason, it's almost you become a made man when you're not in pads, when you're not wearing your helmet, and when you're basically certified. So the less and less you play, the more and more Sean McVay really starts to trust you, and you basically have cemented your spot on this roster. So it's kind of looking at the sidelines too, like who's not playing, right? And that kind of stuff, who's being taken out of the game after a couple of snaps. Also think the receiver spot, we talked a little bit last week, Bryn Covey, and could he find a way on this roster? I think they ultimately keep 6 receivers. I think Xavier Smith is that guy, man. You see the catches he can make, what he can do to stretch the field, but also he can do it on special teams too. So I think the versatility of what he brings is kind of what I'm looking at. But yeah, I mean, I think that naturally we'll see some stories surface based on which guys have good games and perform well. And let's be honest, the biggest story in all of this is Stetson Bennett looks like he's going to be one of the 3 quarterbacks on this roster based on his play. So does he continue that positive momentum and continue to take big steps in the right direction? Because he's really impressed early on. So yeah, just all those things really.
Yeah, Brock, how different is each preseason game for a player? I mean, preseason game 1, obviously you're if you're playing, this is assuming you're actually playing, right? If obviously preseason game 1, you're itching to get out there. You haven't played a game yet in months and everything. Now game 2, you've already got some tape on film. You already have coaches criticizing or praising based on what you've done. How different is that second game knowing what you might have done in the first game?
It depends. It depends on how you did the first game. If you went out there and you made a name for yourself, you want to keep that up. If you didn't, you want to make some plays. You want to go out there and have a good showing, because this film and all this, all these reps that you're doing is going to be seen by all 32 teams. So just like I told a lot of the guys before the game versus Dallas, I was like, man, all 32 teams watch this film. So don't feel like, if you don't make this team, it's over. Go out here, give great effort, show teams why they should have you, show teams why they need you. If it's not this team because of some reason we have a full D-line that's stacked, there may be other D-lines that need you. So go out here, have a good showing, go out here and do your thing so other teams can possibly pick you up for their squad.
And do we as fans or maybe members of the media, do we overrate the preseason a little bit compared to the midweek, right? Because obviously the public can only see, unless there's an open practice, you can only see what happens on national TV on a Saturday or a Sunday in the preseason. But from your experience, is it really those practices in the middle of the week or those, joint practices with other teams? Is that really what influences roster spots and depth charts and positioning even more so than the preseason?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think a little bit of both. You're getting tons of reps at practice, tons. So you definitely have to show up. You have to be a guy that they don't have to talk to a lot, that you catch on very quickly. And when you have at joint practices, you want to show a good showing, because that's pretty much like a game. I think that's why intensity is so high at joint practice, because it's pretty much a game setting. You're going against a different person on a different team who's also probably trying to make his team, so he don't want you to embarrass him. So for the most part, these are game reps. These aren't just practice reps. Usually, when you're at practice, you can find you can find your guy you can brother-in-law. We say brother-in-law because you kind of taking it easy on each other so you don't get hurt, or you don't have to exert as much energy during practice. But when you have joint practices, these are game reps. This is a guy I don't know. I don't care about him, his family, his team, nothing. I am trying to make this squad, and I am going to go through him to do it. So that's why joint practices are so intense. But yeah, you definitely have to have a good showing in the practices, and then people want to see what you look like when the lights are on. When the lights come on, people act different. You might be a great practice guy when nobody's watching, but when the lights are on and the TV and all the cameras on you, you might clam up. You might be a deer in the headlights. So the coaches also want to see what do you like on game day. So it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, you kind of lobbed me there too. You talk about the intensity of training camp and especially those joint practices. We see it. We saw it this week. We saw it last week. There's always those clips that come out of fights, and whether it's within their own team, those are the ones that always kind of baffle me a little bit, is when this is going to be your brother for 17, 18 plus weeks, and yet you're throwing hands 2 weeks before the beginning of the season. But what's a funny fight story for you in training camp or something like that? You ever experienced that? You ever been in one yourself? You talk about being a talker, but are you a fighter too? What's up?
Oh man, tons. I mean, I just think training camp breeds like intense guys, and then you don't see your family, so you don't have anybody to really ground you in any level. You're out here, it's hot, you're out here every day, and you're going against this guy. Maybe you beat him the day before. Now this is the day after, and now he's going a little extra because you beat him the day before. So it's like that's building up, and then say you I think I seen one of the rookies for Cincinnati. He hit Joe Burrow, and then the offensive lineman throw. I mean, that's going to happen. Right. If you hit the starting quarterback, you expect to get hit by an offensive lineman or get pushed or shoved to the ground or something, or because you want to know that the offensive lineman has the quarterback's back, Right. If they don't fight, it's a problem. But, for me, it's like, I've been a part of tons of, joint practice fights, especially with having AD. AD hated training camp, hated it with a passion. He hated training camp. So whenever he was there, I know he missed like a couple just dealing with contract disputes and things like that. But whenever he was practicing during those training camps, it just was like he was always angry. He was always mad. Nobody could touch him at all, So it was like as soon as he felt like somebody was doing something disrespectful or a little extra, it was over with. And then you didn't want to be the guy that wasn't fighting, Because people look at that. You watch film and you looking like you saying, dang, everybody's fighting, and then this guy's just sitting on the sideline. Yeah. I don't want to go to battle with this guy. You don't even want to fight. Want to fight for me. So for me, it's all about, man, togetherness. I think that's what the fights really bring. And it's a funny story. So we're in Oxnard. We're practicing against the Dallas Cowboys. The day before, the Dallas defense is like killing like our offense. Like, and not killing like they're doing a good job, but anytime we have like a thud period, which is just, you hit them, but you don't take them to the ground. They were thud, but they were knocking our guys down, So that night, Jeff was like, man, we can't be an offense like this that, just takes crap from a team like this. Like, so I'm not saying fight, but I'm saying have more intensity today. Yeah. So what's crazy is we go to the next day, we have practice. As soon as somebody hits the ground, our running backs hits the ground, it's over with. Like the fight breaks out, and then we're on the defensive side of the field, and we look over and see our offense fighting. So all of the defensive players are running to get in this fight, that they weren't even a part of, but we want to be a part of it now. Right. And then we get in there, and then we had a fight or whatever, the scuffle. They break practice up. Jeff is like, man, they have their side. Dallas goes to their coaches. We go to our coaches. Jeff gives us, this speech about not fighting and having, your head on straight, And then when we get on the bus, there's coolers of beer waiting for us. So it was like he almost knew that we were going to do that. So when we get on the bus, we have coolers of beer. Guys are throwing beer on to the back of the bus, like, "Hey, yeah, give me a cold brew," So it's like he was prepared for that to happen. So that was like one of the funniest moments where it was like, "Oh yeah, coach wanted us to knock some heads off today."
Yeah, and I remember too, like when AD was talking about the famous fight against the Bengals. By the way, first of all, never have joint practice sessions with teams that just played in the Super Bowl. Yeah. Like that's never a good idea, right? I remember AD talking about how there was an offensive lineman for the Bengals that was trying to start fights the entire practice, and he was trying to throw hands, trying to throw punches. And before it happened, AD was telling Sean, "Hey, I'm trying to be peacemaker out there." And all of a sudden, he does it. He actually told Sean, from if I remember the story correctly, I'm going to end this practice if he keeps doing it. He was trying to play peacemaker, and all of a sudden, he uses a helmet as a deadly weapon, a little assault with a deadly weapon there. It goes down, and then he says he blacked out. Is that how it usually is? Like one guy doing it, and then just finally it's the other dude that snaps?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, you cause like I said, you might have had a practice before where you might have beat this guy like 5 reps in a row. So this the next day, he's like on 10 now, and he's doing all kind of stuff to get under your skin or just to, show face for itself from the day before. And, if that's fighting, getting one up on you, that's fighting, he's going to do it. So usually there's always one guy, that's super aggressive, that's, holding or just doing extra stuff. And you're like, bro, like, why are you doing all this extra stuff? But in his head, he might be he's fighting to make this team. So literally he's fighting to try to make this team. So usually you have a guy and then all of a sudden you got somebody else, somebody like AD snaps. Literally, I've seen him rip a face mask off a helmet that was bolted in and tried to hit a dude with it. And the dude still had his 10 strap hooked up. He still had the helmet on. It was still on. He had no face mask. The face mask just came off. I was like, I literally was sitting in awe for a second because I was like, did I just witness somebody rip a face mask off a helmet that was screwed on? He ripped it off. I was like, that is incredible.
Grown man strength.
Superhuman. Man. What I love about that too, it's like, if you do that at a joint practice session, it's like, okay, it's all good. Boys are going to be boys. It's training camp, right? If you do that in the regular season, you're like Myles Garrett, you're suspended for the whole year. It's
yes.
Big deal. But it's like, hey, training camp, it's all good, man.
It's free game. It's free game. Yeah. It was funny because AD was doing that Bengals little scuffle. I think somebody was messing with him. They was like, hey, yeah, man, I don't know. That was a serious issue. They might fine you $100,000. He was like, what? He immediately went into what? They can't do that. It's training camp.
I love it. It's kind of like in baseball where the manager, something happened in the game before and the manager's like, hey, don't throw at him. But if the ball happens to slip out of your hands and you do catch the guy, then, hey, we better start a fight, right? Kind of thing there. So, there's those unwritten rules and everything. And it's so great to have you on because we get to hear the actual story.
49ers fans were all the 49ers fans were hoping they were going to find him. I'll never forget. My friends, I have a friend who covers the 49ers and he sent me a gif of Birdman. He's wiping his hands together. You know what I mean? He's waiting for that 6 or 7 game suspension. I'm like, dude, it is training camp. You're not getting it's Aaron Donald too, right? It matters which player that was. If that was another player doing that to Aaron Donald, maybe it'd be a different conversation, right? It matters who it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, no, that's hilarious. I love it. We're gonna take our last break. When we come back, you kind of lob me again. You guys, again, the Mob Squad. We're on this. Come
on now.
We're just reading each other's mind. I was gonna bring up that darn team up north.
Mob and Squad. I haven't got a tattoo yet. That's my first one.
Get DMAC on the forehead or something too while you're at it.
All right, that's a little much.
But yeah, we're gonna take our break. When we come back, I do want to bring up that team in the north a little bit, just because I was seeing some stuff this week about the Niners being favorites in the NL West or NFC West, NL West. Look at me, the NFC West. I certainly don't agree. So I want to hear your guys' takes on that. We'll do that after our break here, and I don't got to read an ad, so we're getting right back into it right here on this Mob Squad edition of the Locked On Rams Squad Show. We'll be right back. Back here live on the Squad Show, right here on the Locked On Rams YouTube channel and on the Locked On Rams audio podcast feed. Man, this is fun. I'm not going to lie. This is just show 2. We've got a whole lot of shows. There's going to be guests. There's going to be, obviously post-game shows throughout the rest of the preseason, all season long. I'm really excited. And so I want to talk real quick before we wrap this one up about the outlook of the NFC West, right? Obviously, the talk is the Rams most likely being the favorite in this division, doing what we did last year. I feel bad for Cardinals fans. All the talk there was Kyler Murray throwing the ball right to the other team. And obviously the Seahawks are kind of in this interesting half rebuild, half still being competitive thing. It does really feel like it's the Rams and the Niners. And so, like I said, I've seen some crazy stuff on Twitter with people claiming the Niners are the favorites in this division. I want to hear from you guys, though. What do you think as we go into preseason game 2? We talked about really all of the hypotheticals with the quarterback position. But if everyone's healthy, are we not the favorite here? We have to be the favorite in the division, right?
I mean, I think the Rams are the champs, right? They're the reigning champs of that division, right? So you look at it that way. But I think if you're a 49ers fan, you want to kind of play devil's advocate of why they should be. You point out to the fact that last year, it was supposed to be the 49ers and the Rams were picked 3rd, 4th in their division by most experts entering the season. And then they had the year they had in the 49ers. You had all those injuries, right? Trent Williams went down, Christian McCaffrey went down, and now you're in this new era of 49ers football where Debo's not there, and you're kind of looking more like Juwan Jennings and Pearsall. So I think they're still kind of an unknown in this new kind of era where they're kind of shifting a little bit in San Francisco. But look, they have a talented roster. So do the Rams. For the most part, Shanahan's had a lot of success against McVay in the regular season, but I still think that if you can guarantee me Matthew Stafford's health and with all this emerging young talent and additions they made, I do think that, I know, look, guy wearing a Rams hat with a Rams thing behind him is going to say the Rams, but I still think that, honestly, pound for pound, roster for roster, I still like the Rams just slightly as the favorite in the NFC West.
What about you, Brock? You agree?
Man, I agree. I'd never see the Cardinals winning this division. Never since I've played, I've never seen them win this division. I mean, I always throw slugs at the Cardinals because, I mean, it was just light work. I mean, I'll be honest with you. You just showed up to work on Sunday and you was going to beat the Cardinals. But, for me, the 49ers is always a tough team to play. Seattle was always tough to play in Seattle. But for me, like you said, the Seattle is in this kind of limbo where they're kind of rebuilding, but not really. So, I definitely discredit them. But the two top dogs in this division, is the Niners versus the Rams. And I definitely think with the team that we've had all our guys, we actually added to our team, instead of, lose a lot of guys. So we have a lot of young guys who've been together, who went to the NFC Championship next year, have tons of experience, and these guys are only going to get better. They're not going to fall off. So that's going to help them. And I just think that's going to lead them to doing the same. They felt that being a champion of this division already, and they don't see themselves as anything less. So the 49ers are definitely going to have to take it away from the Rams, but, I think the Rams definitely have it when it comes to being the champs of this division.
Yeah, Gavin, also, too, when you look at it, I mean, we know the 49ers, really good roster, really good coaching. They've won a lot of games in this window that they've been in. I think, too, for the Rams, the urgency is there with this group in the window to go out there and win a Super Bowl. They still have those draft picks, right, with the trade they made on draft day. This is an organization, if they think there's a move they can make to put them over the top, they're not afraid to go and do that. So I think that where their team build is with the Rams team build, the Rams have basically 2 years to win it with this nucleus. So I think that's another reason why you want to say, okay, we don't want to play in the wild card game. We want to set ourselves up for the best chance to make a deep run in the playoffs. So yeah, you guarantee me health, which is really impossible. But if you can roster for roster, tell me, man, this Rams team feels like they're on a mission.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little bit nervous. I'm moving back up to the Bay Area in about a week from now. And so I'm just terrified for the scenario where the Niners are back to looking like the Niners of a couple years ago. And those annoying fans are just, in my ear 24/7 up in the Bay. I'm not looking forward to that at all. I do think there is a scenario, unfortunately, where kind of like you were saying, D-Mac, of the Rams last year coming in completely under the radar, a lot of people doubting them. And then, we kind of just subtly reminded everyone, like, wait a second, we still have Matthew Stafford throwing the ball to Puka, handing the ball off to Kyron. We still have Sean McVay. We have a young defense. I do think there's a little bit of a scenario where maybe the Niners remind some people, like, hey, this is still one of the most successful programs, right, in recent memory in the NFL. But I still think, you go position by position. I think the Rams are just a more talented team. They're one of the few teams that I think is better coached than the Niners. It's hard to say that, but I certainly think we are. And let's not forget, we handled business against them last year. That week 3 win, right? When you win 27-24 in week 3, coming off of 2 losses to start the season. I'll never forget doing the post-game shows last year and going, after that Cardinals blowout loss, like, oh my God, what in the world is going to happen to this team? You win against the Niners and you're like, no, wait a second. There's a scenario where we can be good. And then obviously the huge win in week 15 against them. We'll see what happens when they play head to head, but certainly I have us as the favorites as well. Before we wrap this one up,
though, the fact that the last couple of years, really no expectations for the Rams as far as being the division favorites. This year, it's kind of how do they handle those expectations and really a more favorable schedule early on. In the 49ers, it's, this Rams team thinks it's their division now. It's going to try to go take that back. By the way, I did notice that you referred to the Rams and you said we, right? On the Locked On Daily Show, I always say we, and then Travis is like, yeah, I'm not a we guy, because I didn't play for the team. He's like, bro, think he on the team. Where are you guys at on that? Like, obviously, Brock, you're a former Ram. Of course, you got to say we. No brainer for you. But you still say we, right? We talk about the Rams, I'm guessing?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we. Yeah. We not me. That's a slogan, man. And we not me, So, and that's for everybody that's associated with the Rams. So with this squad and the Mob Squad, hey, we're part of the organization too, man. We love the Rams just like everybody else. So it's all about we right now.
There we go. I mean, I agree. I mean, obviously, right, D-Mac, surprise, surprise, the non-player is going to say he agrees with a non-player being able to say we, right? But I don't know. If you follow the team each week, if you are, if the team loses and you're not sad about it, then I don't think you get the right to say we. But if you are on the top of the world when the team wins, and if you're down in the dumps when the team loses, then dang it, you earn the right to say we. No?
Absolutely. I mean, when you're watching the game and you're like watching the defense, like, we got to get this stop. You're telling your people around you, we got to get this stop. You don't say, oh, the Rams need to get this stop right now. You know what I mean? Like, they know you're a part of that. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I totally agree. Like, even if it's a casual fan, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, when I'm watching the game on Sunday, I'm also not sitting back with my feet up. No, I'm in a stance, man. I'm ready to get out there on the field myself, right? Like, come on now. Well, this is we, absolutely. And I know the everydayers, the people watching this show, the people that watch the Daily Show, they're tuned in, right? If they're watching the Mob Squad talk for an hour, and if they're watching the team play for 3 hours every Sunday, they're we as well. I'm sorry, Travis, but it's we here. It's we here. Sorry.
I'll tell them tomorrow for sure.
Yeah, let them know. But all right, this was another fun edition of the Ram Squad Show. Again, just a quick reminder that this show will be coming out to you twice a week, both directly after every single Rams game, and then one more time in the middle of the week, the same day every time. So if you're not already, subscribe, hit that post notification bell. I always feel like that phony content creator when I'm like, hit the post, hit the bell, and like and comment and all that stuff. But it's true. Do it all. Yeah. We appreciate all of it. But yeah, we'll be back here directly after that preseason game against the Chargers. Should be a lot of fun, man. Should be a lot of fun just playing against that team. And of course, getting to see some guys trying to earn a roster spot. But before I wrap it up, any last comments from the Mob Squad going into show 3?
It's hit it, man. This weekend, let's go. Preseason game 2. I'm ready.
I need to figure out how to add my IG like you guys, man.
There we go.
I must have missed that little tab. So yeah, I mean, at mbrockers90 on IG. So if you want to look for me, I'm mbrockers90 on IG. I'm gonna add myself for next week for sure.
And then on X, Twitter,
you put the notes,
I think it's just your full name, right?
That down below in the notes.
I think it is. I think it's my full name as well.
All right, full name. So then there you go. We'll get it on the next one. But I got to ask, too, before we wrap it up, are you going to surprise us again? And suddenly I'm going to be watching the game, and in the second quarter, you're going to be in there in the booth, or what? What's the plans for this weekend for you?
Oh, not this time around. But if they want me, I'll show up, man. I'm always willing to take advantage of the opportunity.
There you go. Never say no to one. I love it. But all right, with all that being said, we're going to wrap it up. This, once again, was the Ram Squad Show. Episode 2 will be back here live after that game against the Chargers. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you back there then. Take care.